So next we have Mario Russo, who is the Regional General Manager from McConnell Dowell. Mario, just spotlighting yourself now. There we go. Good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy.
No worries. I'll let you go for the next 20 minutes or so.
All right, great. Good to be here. Hi, everyone. Hope you're all still hanging in there. This is McConnell Dowell's RAP, Reconciliation Action Plan, Aboriginal Art behind me. It's pretty busy, so hopefully you can see me okay. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if I can get this to work. And I'm going to take you through a bit of a presentation about McConnell Dowell. So I'm Mario Russo. I'm the General Manager for South Australia and Western Australia. And the reason I've been asked to come and present today is because I actually joined this company as a graduate 17 years ago. And I've worked my way up through the business from the graduate program, and I wanted to share with you how that journey's been. And if you do join McConnell Dowell, and if you're lucky enough to become part of our team, what you could expect to enjoy as part of that. You can use the Q&A function as I go through, and I'll do the questions at the end. So McConnell Dowell started in the 60s in New Zealand, and since then have spread across Australia and Southeast Asia, delivering construction projects in a number of different sectors, market sectors, and a number of different types of construction that we specialise in. And so over that journey, we've developed a culture of delivering the more complicated technical engineering type projects. And that's really a big part of who we are as a business, is that we push ourselves and we push each other to think outside of the box and do things that are a little bit different. And the result being, as someone who works with our team, you get to do some pretty interesting stuff. And so where we are now as a business, we had a big company reset from about 2015, and we've been on a really strong growth cycle ever since, and are in a really positive place as a business at the moment. We do about $1.5 billion, which is not mega construction company size, but big construction company size. And I say that because you know, I really enjoyed the presentation before. You know, not being a number is a big deal when you're trying to build your career and get exposure. And we have quite a flat structure and pretty good reach and pretty good visibility for our new staff. We have about 3,500 staff across multiple countries. So we operate in Australia, New Zealand, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific Islands. And we do highly variable size of projects, you know, all the way down from $20 million to over $1 billion. And that's been awesome. You know, I've been lucky enough to work on all sorts of different size jobs, and big jobs are great. They give you spectacular exposure to certain things, but doing a small project can really boost your career. You know, you get to take on a lot of responsibility, and it can really help push you forward and build on your skills. So don't be afraid of the small jobs. They can be really good for you. We do a variety of different contract models. It might not mean much to you, but what that means is our business is really interested in taking on design coordination. So we will sometimes engage design consultants. We have our own design team for temporary works, and we get heavily involved in developing the design solution and how it's going to be built, rather than just receiving a design and going and building someone else's design. In-house design and design management capability is something a little bit different. We have worked very hard to maintain this capability, and the picture in the background you can see on the right-hand side there, that sort of temporary access over water, for example, is the sort of stuff that our in-house engineers will do. And they'll come out to a job, and you'll sit down with them, and you'll work out how to make all that work as part of the development of the solution, which is a really exciting way of working. So on the left-hand side, if you don't know construction contracting, I didn't at university. I felt like I got trained to be a consultant, and then discovered this world of construction, and it was exactly where I fitted. But if you don't know much about it, down the left-hand side there, we engineer, we work out the solutions, how to deliver on a design. We procure, so we will buy all of the materials. McConnell Dowell have an office in Shanghai, in China, and we get heavily involved in buying materials from offshore, but then also obviously within country, within Australia. Then construction, we build it, we manage subcontractors, we self-perform. So we'll actually have our own workforce and for certain jobs and go out there and deliver the construction. And in some instances, we'll do maintenance or operations. We operate sand pumping systems for coastal protection in a couple of areas. We've been involved in partnerships for desalination plants, etc. On the right-hand side of the picture there are the sort of market sectors we work in. What I mostly want to point to is the specialist capabilities part. So McConnell Dowell will build traditional civil transport projects, which is sort of really the big stuff going around the capital cities in Australia at the moment. But we also have a rail division. We're one of the country's leading cross-country pipeliners. So that's building pipelines hundreds of kilometres long in remote Western Australia and Queensland usually. Can be for water, can be for gas, can be for all sorts of things. I've talked about our Shanghai capability. We fabricate materials overseas and manage that fabrication. Marine is core to McConnell Dowell. We've done a lot of marine infrastructure all over the world, and we carry a lot of expertise in that. Tunnelling and underground, quite a lot of tunnels, New Zealand and Southeast Asia in particular. Mechanical and electrical engineering and building. So a fairly diverse business. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what McConnell Dowell's been like for me. I joined the company when I left uni, straight out of uni, 2005. And I've had an amazing 17 years as I've moved through from graduate to now being general manager, which means I oversee all of the winning and delivering of projects across South Australia and Western Australia. So my first job out of uni, I got thrown into a ute and sent down to Port Adelaide and built a grain loading wharf. That was a great job for a first job. For your first job, I really encourage you to get out, get into the field, learn from the trades, learn from your supervisors, get some hands-on experience. You know, your foundation at university is an outstanding one for your career, be it in engineering or something else. But if you move into construction, going out there and learning from some people that have been doing this for a very long time in the field is invaluable experience. So the next, after I finished that job, I thought I might get out and see a bit of Australia. Our company, because we work all over the place, there's heaps of opportunity. So, you know, stuck my hand up and said, well, what else is going on outside of South Australia, which is my home, and ended up at this job. This was a nickel refinery for a new mine for BHP in Western Australia, near a place called Esperance. And it was a brilliant job. I learned all about mechanical engineering. I'm a civil engineer, but I learned about mechanical engineering, heaps of structural steel, you know, built some really interesting stuff, some different stuff, and got a bit more of a diverse experience. I then chose to leave that job, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but something came up that I really wanted to be a part of, which was what's on the screen there. This is called the Common User Facility in Port Adelaide, and it's where the air warfare destroyers are built for the Australian Navy. And so I joined a team who developed the design for that and got to work for 18 months in the office. And the bit down the bottom there is the wharf where you can see the ship, and I got to oversee the construction of that wharf. One thing I like about McConnell Dowell, I mean, I was only, 4 or 5 years out of uni, and the support of the business to say, you know what, we think you can actually oversee that. But being part of a bigger job where there are people there to support you was awesome. You know, like great to have the challenge, you know, bit of a sink or swim moment, but to be given the opportunity to do it was brilliant. So built that wharf and then got to work on that ship lift on the right, which is that big, long, black looking thing. Not the sort of stuff you get to do very often in Adelaide, South Australia. Finished that job and our building company. So we own a building company called Built Environs, and they do commercial building, and they won the Western Grandstand at Adelaide Oval and said to McConnell Dowell, hey, you better throw us an engineer. This is a pretty tricky job. And and it was. And I jumped on there as the lead construction engineer, and I looked after the roof and the superstructure. So all the steel and precast concrete and in situ concrete for the grandstand. That was something completely different. I'd worked on 2 marine jobs, a mechanical job, and there I'm doing a grandstand. I was really lucky at the time. Our parent company is from South Africa, and they were building some World Cup stadiums, and they said, how about we send you over to South Africa and you can have a look at these World Cup stadiums and work out how to knock up a grandstand. So I did that. Was really, really good of the company to offer that opportunity, and then came back and knocked this job out, which was really, really tough. But, you know, I sat on the hill on the first day of the Ashes and looked at 14,000 people sitting in that stand, and it was incredibly rewarding. Next, I got asked to go down to Adelaide desalination plant. If you join the construction industry and someone says to you, can you go to a job for 2 weeks? It's an outright lie. It's never 2 weeks. It's at least a year. And this was true. I was there for 18 months. And it was an excellent job. Very, very tough. Mechanical and electrical work. So again, something quite different. And I spent 18 months there helping that project get to completion, at the end of which I got asked to deliver this job. For anyone who's been to Adelaide Oval, you might be familiar with what this is. That's a bridge that spans from the city side across to Adelaide Oval in the distance there, and it's got about 1,000 glass panels on it. It was my first job as project manager. So it was my first chance to run something in my own right, and it was really, really challenging job, but I had a great team and we delivered it on time against a lot of bad weather. Extremely rewarding to see that open for another Ashes test 4 years after the first one, Adelaide Oval. I then thought I'd get out and see a bit more of Australia again, so I went over to Melbourne, and McConnell Dowell delivered 2 wharfs that we refurbished. A wharf on the right-hand side there in Port Melbourne, and then built a new wharf on the left-hand side where they bring vehicles, cars into to Australia from overseas. So that was good. Got the chance to run one half of that job as an area manager, so running, you know, a bigger patch of my own project as I stepped up in the company, and then came back to South Australia and got to work on a bus tunnel. We just won this job. Came back to SA and was project manager for the Oban bus tunnel. After that, I became an alliance general manager for the first time, and an alliance is like a collaborative contract where designer and client and contractor all work together. I really like that way of working. It really fit well with me, and it fit well with the sort of company that McConnell Dowell are. We do a lot of alliance contracting now. A lot of big contractors do. And this one was doing multiple projects. So we won 3 projects as part of that initial contract, and that it's a railway station there called Oaklands Crossing. Really enjoyed that program, and it's still running. It's been running now for 5 years, and I think we're doing our 6th job at the moment with the Department of Transport in Adelaide. And on to what I'm doing now. So I moved on from projects into what I call the business side of the business. So first of all, looking at winning work, which is a key part of the construction industry. So you'll often, if you join the construction industry, get the chance to work on great projects, but also work on winning projects and all of the tender processes, and can be a really exciting, really high pressure time, but really good to learn. And now I moved on from just the winning work into overseeing winning and delivery, and look, did all of that with what I think's you know, one of the best construction companies going around. That was the path that I went on. But as the other speakers have talked about, it's true that our industry has so many diverse options. You know, you can join as a construction, as a civil engineer or a mechanical engineer, or, you know, a finance graduate, an accountant, an architect, all sorts of different pathways in, and then all sorts of different pathways through the company to do all sorts of different things. And look, I think that, you know, the way it's worked for me is that you know, you work very hard, you get your name out there, you get to know people, and you know, stick your hand up when the opportunities look good. I think for people entering you know, this industry at the moment, and if you're interested in joining McConnell Dowell, my advice would be to think of the long game. You know, a career in construction is going to be a long one. We have a great pipeline ahead of us. Think of the long term, get in with a company that aligns with your values and somewhere that you think you can really grow and build on the education that you've invested in already through university, and your first few years will be so valuable in building yourself up to the next level. One thing I think is our key point of difference is, I sort of mentioned it before, we really do see ourselves as taking on the more technical and the more complex type projects. And I'll just show you an example of that. On the left-hand side there, that's the Apple store at Marina Bay Sands in Singapore. And looks great. Fantastic job. The architect did a really good job, but getting that thing out in the water is really tricky. And on the right-hand side is what we had to come up with to make that finished product a reality. So what you can see there on the right is our cranes over the water, floating barges, a work front that, you know, very, very small footprint on the shore. And all of that temporary support frame and access and everything there is what our engineers had to come up with to be able to make that architect's vision a reality. And that's one thing I love about working with this business. You know, architects and engineers will come up with a brilliant finished product, but we got to work out how to put it together. And I think that our company does a great job at giving people the opportunity to really be a part of that process, not just manage a subcontract, but actually get in there and work out how to do it well. And I think that's a real point of difference for the role of an engineer in particular, but other roles as well within our business. So our graduate program is a 2-year program. We do take cadets ahead of graduate program and put you out into our projects to get experience, but the formal program is a 2-year one. It's really good in terms of giving you a diverse exposure to the business. So you do rotations. You'll do a site rotation as a site engineer. You do an engineering management with our team over in Melbourne, and you actually spend time with them, seeing how they go out designing temporary works, etc. We'll do a rotation in new business. So over a couple of years, you see all different sectors of our company. You get a mentorship from a senior leader. So I'm a mentor. I've been a mentor for years, and people like me, you get teamed up with people who aren't in your day-to-day work life for you to bounce things off about your career development and any challenges or questions you've got about your work. And I think on the bottom there is sort of some key things. You know, while you're early in your career, if you want to stay based within your capital city, there are options there. If you want to go regional, if you want to go international, it's the sort of thing that you can get some really awesome experience with a company like ours. And also you can stick your hand up if you're particularly interested in working over water with marine works or the rail industry or something like pipelines. We can, you know, stick your hand up and we can put you into all of those sorts of situations. So look, I think, you know, considering a career in construction, good on you for it. I think it's a very rewarding career. There's a huge amount of potential in the industry. And I think that, you know, with a graduate program like we sort of offer, it's a good opportunity to try your hands on quite a few different things and then work out where your career could take you. And I think, you know, I've had a brilliant experience at McConnell Dowell. I think we're a really values-driven organisation of really good people, and I think, you know, the experience that we're able to offer is second to none. So you can head over to the Grad Australia website, and we'll have a profile there, and you can find us on LinkedIn and stuff as well. All right, let's have a look at the questions. So I've got one question here. Is the graduate program open for international students? Yes, it is. I'll guess where my question started. Let's go from there. I'm studying civil engineering and love the design aspect of engineering. Do you guys offer any jobs in Melbourne that would suit that role? So our design, we have 2 types of design streams within McConnell Dowell. We have engineering management, which is management of design consultants or our own designs. And there's either office-based engineering management or site-based. So there's a stream there. And the other is our in-house engineering. So in-house engineering, we do our own temporary works designs, etc. There's a stream there. So there's opportunities in both of those areas. Just just flicking down. Hi Mario, thank you for your presentation. I believe a journey with McConnell Dowell would be rewarding. Your journey is a great example. What's your advice for international student applicants interested in the graduate program? Yeah, for international students, look, I think someone said it earlier as well, your cover letter is pretty important. I think hard about what you put in your cover letter. Your CVs are a pretty mechanical type document of the sort of stuff you've done, but I agree with what was said earlier. Your cover letter is a chance to show a bit of who you are and what you're all about. So I would encourage all students, not just international students, to have a think about exactly what they're going to write in there and making the most of that opportunity to put themselves forward. Any graduate roles for mechanical engineers in South Australia? Yes, apply please, everywhere. Particularly in South Australia, we're doing a number of mechanical jobs at the moment, and absolutely looking for people with that experience. There's another question about international students with postgraduate qualifications. Yes, yeah, we do accept postgraduate qualifications as well. So yep, put your application through. When does the program start to offer? So our graduate program starts at the start of each year, but it's not too far into the year before we start taking applications. So you'll find everything on the Grad Australia website profile to start getting in touch with our team about all of that. Thank you for sharing. Any roles for planners? Yes, absolutely. Planners are really hard to find in the current market, and we've got some really good senior planners to learn from. So any young planners, engineers looking for a career in construction planning, very interested in hearing from you. A couple more. What are your graduate program streams for civil engineering students, and how many graduates would you be accepting? Well, I'll get this wrong, but we have quite a few positions across the country. I think we probably took about 20 engineers, graduate engineers, and then we had other streams of graduates as well last year. So that sort of number. And look, we've grown, particularly in Australia, at a significant rate. So I expect to be taking in even more next year. So would love to hear from you. And the last one, how do you gauge a particular application, CV, resume for the graduate role? Any particular things to be noted? I talked about the cover letter before. I think that's really important. But look, beyond the CV, if you really put some time into your cover letter, talk about what you do outside of work to give us an insight as to sort of the person that you are. Once you get into the interview process, if you get there, then we get to tap in a lot deeper than the piece of paper. All right, well, thank you very much for the time. Jeremy, over to you.
Thanks so much for coming on, Mario. That was really amazing. I was particularly a pretty big fan of all the travel and different locations across Australia you went to as a part of all the different projects. Really exciting. So thank you so much for jumping on. And if everyone can join me in thanking Mario for his time and sharing all of that information with us in the chat, that'd be great.
See you, everyone. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mario.